I'm really honored to be here. I think I was on once before, but that is some years ago. Anyway, yes, I've just published my new book. It's actually a book that is quite relevant for the situation we are in at the moment, with so much going on in the world, so many weird things. There's climate change, there's new wars coming up, and crisis, and floodings, and earthquakes, and volcanoes, and whatnot. And Martinus actually has a very interesting view on what's going on. And that's why I named this book The Earth, the Universe, and God in a Cosmic Perspective. And I also called it, as the subtitle, The True Theory of Everything, based on the Spiritual Science of Martinus. And I know it's a very ambitious title, especially the subtitle. But hey, there's so many, but there are several claims that they have the theory of everything. But I think that what Martinus reveals is really the closest we can get to that. I'll just say a few words about Martinus. Yes, here he is. Martinus was a Danish boy. He was born in the country. He lived in very poor circumstances as a child, and but he had a very strong connection with the divine already as a boy. He lived from 1890 to 1981, which means that he died when he was 90 years old. And when he was 30 years old, he sat down to meditate one day on the concept of God. And he felt that he sort of was pushed out of his physical body and entered a very divine presence, where he saw like the figure of Jesus come towards him. And it was all very strange to him, and he didn't really understand it. The next day he sat down to meditate again, and he was in a golden sea, a sea of golden threads. And he felt that he was in such a divine presence that he simply, he was afraid his consciousness couldn't take it. So from that day on, his consciousness had become expanded, so that he could no longer only see the physical world, but he could look into the spiritual world that lies before, beyond, and behind the physical world. And he realized that whenever he thought of a question of a metaphysical character, the answer came immediately. It came as if it was downloaded into his consciousness. And from that day on, of course, his life changed completely. To begin with, it was difficult for him to live with these new capabilities, but he got used to it. And over the next 60 years, until his death, he wrote 10,000 pages of profound spiritual insight. And he drew 100 symbols. I will show you some of the symbols later so that you know what I'm talking about. And he said, and this is it's a quote that I put at the beginning of my book, because he said, "Life is so wisely structured that nothing whatsoever can go on being a mystery for the living beings." And this means that we have so many questions as humans. Is there life after death? Is reincarnation a fact? How do we create our fate? Does God exist? If God is so good, why do we have so much misery and wars and terrorism and so on? Etc., etc., etc. So many questions. And Martinus, in this quote, he promises that these questions will stop being a mystery. And I must say, yes, it is absolutely true. I mean, I encountered the Martinus material in 1995, that is 28 years ago. And I have studied it ever since. I mean, I agree with Gary that it is so overwhelming. It is so fantastic. You have no idea what it is until you've read it. And I mean, it's such a gift. So yes, what we're going to look at now is some of the aspects that Martinus says about the earth, and the universe and God. I know that many people these days, a lot of people, most people that I am surrounded with, they don't want to hear the word God. They are atheists, and I know where they're coming from. I was an atheist myself until I met the Martinus material, where I found a logical explanation. Martinus's concept of God is a cosmic God. It is not the Christian God or Allah or Brahma or whatever we have heard about in the religions. This God is above all religions, but I'll come back to that. So, first of all, let's have a look at the Earth, because this is so much going on, as I said. Here we have the Earth. And Martinus says that the Earth is a living being. It is not a dead lump of clay. And I think it's pretty obvious that it's a living being, because what is it that can make us 100% certain that the Earth is alive? It is that the Earth has metabolism. It has a metabolism as like all other living beings have. We eat and we digest, and everything sort of goes in cycles. And the metabolism of the Earth is, of course, the breaking down of physical matter on the surface of the Earth. We know the leaves, they fall to the ground in autumn, and they are dissolved, and they then enter a new cycle and become the soil that other plants can live in. And so on. Everything moves in cycles. We know the cycle of night and day. We know the cycle of the seasons, and we know the cycle of water. So everything moves in cycles, and all these are functions of a living beings. That they are the living, the living function. Just as we have our metabolism, so does the Earth. And furthermore, we see here that, I have taken these two pictures because who we really are is not our physical body. Who we are is our consciousness, which you can see here, which is like a field of energy that sits around the physical body in the shape of our aura. And I mean, medical science wants us to believe that our consciousness is limited to the brain, but it's not. Our consciousness sits around our physical body. It only enters mainly enters in the brain. But actually, all living beings have an aura like this, be it a frog, a snake, a leaf. All this has been found out over the last centuries by maybe Killian, if you've heard about that photography. Anyway, so the aura is who we really are. And the physical body is just an instrument that we use for our sojourn on the physical plane. And when our instrument is no longer useful due to illness or accident or old age, this energy field pulls out, moves on to the spiritual plane, where it has a good long rest until it is time for it again to reincarnate into a new physical body. But the point here is that our aura, our consciousness, which the consciousness, we can also say, is identical to what we have traditionally called the soul. Each and every time we lose a physical body, the consciousness survives. And the consciousness holds all the information about who we are. It's like all the software of our body lies here. The physical body is just the hardware. And we all know that without the software, the hardware can do absolutely nothing. It is simply no good. Just in the same way, the Earth has an aura, and it's called the magnetic field of the Earth. And believe me, scientists have wondered ever since they realized that there was a magnetic field. What is it? And it's because it's the consciousness of the planet. And it sits around the planet. And it is also who this planet really is. The planet, the physical globe, is just its instrument for its experience of this physical life that it has. The Earth, of course, is a very, very, very old being. I can't remember how many billions of years it has been in existence, but it is a very long time. And as long as we belong to the Earth, as long as we can call ourselves Earthlings, we don't always reincarnate on this planet. But at the moment, we have like a series of lifetimes on this planet. And when we pass over, or we pass over to the spiritual plane, this is actually our spiritual plane. That is the consciousness of the Earth, where we go, and we sit here until it's time again for us to reincarnate. But this is a long story that I can't come into now. But anyway, the Earth is a living being, and that is a very important point. And this point has been, it's essential to understand this, for the understanding of the whole of the Martinus' work, because this is Martinus' symbol number 7, and it's called the principle of life units. And what we have here is like a funny round thing that has another funny round thing inside it, and another funny round thing, and another funny round thing, and they are exactly identical. And this means that if we say that this is a human being, then these smaller circles represent an organ inside the human being. The smaller circles represent a molecule, the even smaller represent cells, the even smaller represent atoms, etc. And it means that all living beings are alive inside another living being. We can also say that the big circle represents the galaxy. Then the smaller circle represents a solar system. The smaller circles again represent a planet. And the smaller again represent us, the humans, or all the living beings on the planet, etc., etc. And this is so important in order for us to understand the whole structure of the universe, because everything is a living being alive inside another living being. We all know now from medical science that inside our body, which actually in itself is a universe, because we know that there are trillions of living beings alive inside our body. And inside those living beings, there are other living beings, etc., etc., etc. And the same, the Earth is a living being alive inside the solar system, which is a living being, inside the galaxy, which is a living being, inside the galaxy group, which is a living being, etc., etc., etc. So there's simply life everywhere, inside, inside, inside. And that also means that every living being is a macro being for its micro beings, but at the same time, it is a micro being to its macro being. So we are all at the same time macro beings and micro beings. And this is important in order to understand the universe. Anyway, this is the structure of life. And here we have another symbol of Martinus that is called the eternal body. Martinus always uses the triangle to denominate a living being. And here we have one living being, and the triangle could be its center. The center, the I of this, not I, but me, I, of this living being. And then here we have all the things, all the actions that we send out into the universe, and they all perform a cycle or circle. Circle here, circle here, circle here, circle. Circles, circles, circles. And this means that everything we send out comes back. And this is also to like underline that we are eternal beings. We cannot die. We haven't, something that is eternal has no beginning and it has no ending. And the same goes for the whole of the universe. It is an eternal entity. It has no beginning, it has no ending. It is simply something that is. And I think it's like this thing, of course, all these cycles, they also tell us that what we send out comes back to us. And this, of course, is related to the law of karma, which tells us that we reap as we sow. So if I go and kill somebody, and that's like a big cycle, and it can take a long time to come back to me, but it will come back to me in the same shape as I sent it out. And it means that I will be killed. If I lie, I will be lied to. If I steal, I will be stolen from. If I cheat, I will be cheated, etc. And this is really the key to how we create our fate. We create our fate via the way we treat other living beings. Here we have a very, very important symbol of Martinus's number 22, which is called the eternal cosmic connection between God and Son of God. And here, this is again the living being, and this in this case, this triangle symbolizes God. And here we have us, each of us, you, me, and everybody. And here we have the protection from God towards the living being. Everybody is in constant contact with this God and is under this God's protection. And now you will most likely ask, how can we be protected with all these wars and all these things that are going on? But here we have a cyclic movement that sort of illustrates how we spend eternity. We have, Martinus has here, he has the 6 basic energies, and those, what lies below the 2 black lines here symbolizes the physical world. And this is mineral matter. The red symbolizes plants. The orange symbolizes the animal kingdom. And the yellow symbolizes the real human kingdom. Here we have the kingdom of wisdom, the divine world, and the kingdom of memory. So what lies below here is the physical world, and what lies above here is the spiritual world. So we enter the physical world here after we have spent eons of time in the spiritual world. We enter the physical world as minerals. Then we live for a very long time as plants. We become more and more advanced plants. Here we enter the animal kingdom. And you may now ask yourself, where are we now? And Martinus clearly says that we are here at the end, the last leg of the animal kingdom. We are not yet finished human beings, but we are on our way to becoming finished human beings very soon. As soon as we pass the line here between the orange and the yellow, we will become finished human beings that can no longer lie, steal, kill, cheat, murder. That are simply, we will only be able to emanate universal love once we reach this point. And we're all on our way. We're all on our way. We are actually not that far away from entering the real human kingdom. I think that for the most all-loving and the most peace-loving, we may be looking at only 4 or 5 incarnations or something like that. But what is important here is that we have the spiritual world where we can only experience love, bliss, happiness. And then we have the physical world where we can, as we know, especially here in the animal kingdom, experience misery, egoism, cheating, killings, wars. And why is then the question is why? Why can't we all live forever here in the spiritual world? Why do we have to enter the physical world and go through misery and wars and hunger and starvation and cold and lack and etc.? You know what the physical world is like. And that is because in order for the universe to exist eternally, we have to have contrast. We cannot only live in the light, then it would end up that in a total whiteout, and there would be nothing for us to experience. So we move eternally between light and darkness, light and darkness, light and darkness. You get the picture. So when we reach this point, here we live in the real human kingdom, in bliss and harmony and studies and love and absolute heaven on earth. And when we reach this black line here, we stop reincarnating. Because when we have reached this point, we have learned all there is to learn this time around in the physical world. So we stop reincarnating and we live as spiritual beings, as pure spiritual beings for eons of time. I cannot say how much time this is, but it's millions and millions and millions of years. But as eternal beings, we have all the time in the world. So this is how we spend eternity. And once we have completed one cycle, here it's actually the same, but now we see it in a bigger perspective. Round and round and round it goes. We enter a new cycle. Once we have completed one cycle, we enter a new cycle, and it's a spiral, and round and up it goes. And this means that we never repeat the same cycle, which really means that, or in an illustration of how we spend eternity. Yeah, there's never a dull moment, but it's hard to grasp. I really must say, eternity is hard to grasp. But anyway, here we have another symbol, and this illustrates again what I just showed on symbol number 7 of the life units, that we are living beings inside living beings inside other living beings. And here we see the human body as a star system. So Martinus clearly says that what we are looking at when we look out at the starry sky during night, what we see is the inside of another human body. Or another, let's not call it human, another living being, a body of some sort. Martinus calls it a human body, but it whatever it is, it's a body. So we are looking at the inside of another living being, which then is inside another living being, which is inside another living being, etc. So this is really an understanding of what it is we can see out there. It's not as if there was once a big bang that started everything. The whole universe is eternal, and it has always existed. It didn't start. It simply is. And this is how it is with living beings inside other living beings. So this realization really means that there's nothing out there that we cannot study in our own body. I mean, we don't have to send spacecrafts to other galaxies or to solar systems or even to other planets, because there's nothing out there that we cannot study inside our own body. So this is this is really what was also expressed thousands of years ago by the oracle in Delhi in Greek, that know thyself and thou shalt know the whole universe. And this is actually what Martinus confirms here, that there's nothing out there that is not exactly the same inside ourselves. I have to go over this quickly because we need time also for you to ask questions. This actually is also a drawing of the earth, and just like we come from the animal kingdom and we have been very primitive, we have been wild predators in the jungle, we have been apes, and from there we have been primitive humans, and we have gone through a whole evolution, and each life is one step closer to becoming finished human beings, but we're not there yet. And here we see the earth in its animal epoch. The color orange always symbolizes the animal kingdom. So here we see the earth as a wild predator in the jungle. It was an angry and not very kind being, and it was in constant contact with other heavenly bodies that were in its vicinity, but it wasn't friendly with them. And this is actually the epoch where the dinosaurs lived, because it was every epoch, to every epoch corresponds a specific type of micro being, and to this wild epoch corresponded the dinosaurs corresponded. The next is actually, I think, quite interesting, because this symbol exactly explains the point where we are today. We can see that half of these, well, let's say that these symbolize humans. Half of these are yellow and the other half are orange. And we know that the orange symbolizes animals, and the humans, and the red, no, sorry, the yellow symbolizes finished or almost finished humanitarian humans. And as we can see of these symbols, if we can see the whole, half are still orange, are still warlike, are still ruled by the killing principle, and the other half is peace-loving, humanitarian, friendly, kind humans. And this is very important because if only one more of these orange figures becomes yellow, it means that the yellow will be in the majority. And gradually we will have world peace. It will come, no doubt about it. And Martinus says that the earth, just like all other living beings, when they reach the point of becoming finished, they reach cosmic consciousness. Martinus often said that he was no exception just because he had cosmic consciousness. We will all reach that point where we also get cosmic consciousness. And the earth right now is at a point where in no more than 3,000 years, it will reach cosmic consciousness. And it will become all yellow, which means the perfect human stage has been established on earth. There will be peace, there will be harmony, there will be it will be a paradise on earth. But we're not there yet. And here we are still here, and the earth is now eager to get rid of the last vestiges of these orange beings here. And that is why there's so much war, because the earth wants to get rid of all its warlike micro beings, because it is in a hurry so that it can reach this point to get cosmic consciousness. And that is also the reason for climate change, because the Earth is in a crisis. It's in a crisis prior to having cosmic consciousness. And it's a little bit hot-tempered because the process is going slowly. So, I mean, there's so much going on the planet. And it's clearly, and I think the Earth really wants us to wake up to the fact that this is a living being. It's a living being we are living on. And it has its own plans with its life. We don't rule the climate. We don't rule anything here, really. I mean, our pollution may affect the climate in a very small way, but it's so insignificant that we can hardly understand it. The major reason for climate change is the Earth itself in connection with the sun. The sun is like the Earth is an organ in the solar system where the sun rules, and the sun decides the climate everywhere on the planets in connection with the eye of the Earth. So, I mean, our long-term future looks very, very, very bright indeed. We will have an absolutely wonderful future if we look 3 or 4 or 5 incarnations ahead. Martinus says that in 300 to 500 years, the last war will be fought on this planet. And then things will really start to go quickly, because then the most advanced of the living beings on the planet will have reached cosmic consciousness, and they will, of course, affect the whole atmosphere of the planet and the whole the politics that will be implemented. So we may have the next 200 or 300 years may not be very, very bright, but he also clearly underlines that those who have peace in their hearts have nothing to fear. I mean, if you have a peace in your heart and you don't have enemies and you try to do your best in in all situations, you have nothing to fear from a war, a coming war, because you cannot reap a karma that you are no longer sowing. So this is the future of the planet. In 3,000 years, it will look like this. But of course, many, many years before, it will start. I mean, this is the finished result. We will start to see the effects of people having cosmic consciousness already in 200 to 300 years. And then, because my book is also called God in a Cosmic Perspective, I have of course I can't show a picture of God, because God, the whole universe is God. Everything that exists in the universe exists inside God. So it's not as if we can see God, but we can see him or her in every other living being, because when all of us, each and every one of us, is a small quantum of God, we meet God in everybody else. You are God to me, I am God to you. Whenever you meet somebody, whenever you address yourself to somebody, you are actually addressing yourself to God. And the reason why I've taken this symbol, and this is my last, it's called the Spirit of God over the waters. And my point here is that the Spirit of God is everywhere in the universe. And the universe, this spirit is really energy. What was once called empty space, because once we had astronomers said, yeah, we have a lot of planets and suns out there, but we also have a lot of empty space. There's a huge empty space between the planets, and we know that. But then it was found out maybe, I don't know, 50 years ago or maybe less, that this space was not empty. It was full of energy. And energy is really the matter of which our thoughts and spirits consist. So what we have here is the Spirit of God everywhere in the universe. Everywhere that we have empty space, we have the Spirit of God. It's everywhere. And I explain this in my book, and I've run through it very quickly. What time is it? Have I gone over the time? Yes, almost. Stop. I'm finished.